Hi there, I'm John Moore, and I am a shamanic practitioner and teacher. And today I'm going to talk about the question, am I a shaman? Which might be something you're wondering about. There's a lot of question out there about what it takes to become a quote unquote shaman. You'll notice, first off, that I refer to myself as a shamanic practitioner and teacher, and I don't call myself a shaman. The reason for that is in my tradition, the tradition that I was taught in, one does not refer to oneself as a shaman, and it is considered hubris, and it's considered bragging, and hubris is uh, sort of a carnal sin. If there's no such thing as sin in shamanism, but it's a mistake anyway. This is not to cast judgment on anybody who does refer to themselves as a shaman and their tradition may be different or what have you. So, um, while I will say the phrase, am I a shaman, just to make it clear to people who haven't been trained inside the same system that I've been trained in. And I'm having it's morning here at the moment. I'm having some coffee. So, um, um, yeah, coffee is a tool for higher consciousness. You can take that from me. So what I want to talk about is what are the signs or criteria for becoming a shaman or shamanic practitioner, uh, what it takes to go through before you can really work on a professional level. What I did, how much I had to do to get to the point where I actually started seeing clients and then teaching shamanism as a course or multiple courses and develop multiple courses and do all the things that I do online and in person. So the first off, let's talk about the criteria for becoming a shaman. I'm not gonna continually say shaman or shamanic practitioner, so I'll just say shaman for now, and just for ease of understanding. And so traditionally, in most shamanic cultures, there would be signs or things that you would have to go through in order to be chosen to be trained up as a shaman. Sometimes that would be hereditary, right? My father was a shaman, my grandfather, or my mother and my grandmother. And in many cultures, there were male and female shamans. So shamanism tends to be very maternal. Like it's not a patriarchal form of spirituality because there's no hierarchy, there's no structure. We don't have pope and cardinals and bishops and these levels of management that go down. There's no authority on shamanism. There's no there are organizations that support the study and research and teaching of shamanism, but there's no license. There's nothing like that. So in these cultures, heredity is one way that you would be chosen to be trained up as a shaman. Another way, and this is most common, and this is something I have found for myself and with other people who become sort of professional practitioners or teachers, is trauma, and specifically what we call shamanic crisis. So a shamanic crisis can be many things, but it's usually traumatic. It's usually something like a serious illness or a near-death experience or a severe depression, dark night of the soul kind of moment, childhood trauma, a violent accident, all of this, losing a limb. All of these things cause a shift in the energy field or the soul body of the person who, that makes them better or more easily trained to become a shamanic person or a shaman. And this is super common. I have read anthropological studies from a long time ago where they were talking to various indigenous people and about this topic, and this was a common theme that ran across many cultures. So that seems to be a really common one, and it seems to be very important to the people who become professional practitioners of shamanism, in my experience. The people I know, and I know, I don't know, dozens, if not hundreds of people who practice. This is not to say that anybody can't learn the tools of shamanism. I fully believe that anybody can learn to do shamanic journeying and do a lot of spiritual work on their own in that space. It's very hard, though, to translate that self-development work into working with other people. There's a whole range of skills and things that you have to learn. It takes quite a long time. I have many years of study under my belt, which includes an apprenticeship with a practicing shamanic practitioner, a 2 years of initiatory process, specialized teacher training. I have very individual specified training in different topics related to shamanic practice. So it actually took me quite a few years, and I came into shamanism personally to heal myself. I was going through a crisis. I was diagnosed with PTSD in the beginning of my 40s, and I'm nearly 50 now, so it's been a while. And I went to learn shamanism and was accepted by my teacher, though I had no training beforehand. It's pretty rare. And I was accepted into an apprenticeship program, and just with the intention of working on myself, and never wanted to work with another person ever, never had any inclination to teach shamanism. And boy, that was, I found my path. I found my home. And that is really what it feels like. I do have a lot of people contact me saying, I feel like it's my destiny, or I feel like this is my path, and they haven't done any of the work yet. They haven't started to learn shamanism. So the training, the apprenticeship, the initiations, everything that you go through, there's sort of what we call didactic learning, right? You've got to learn some stuff. You've got to pick up a lot of knowledge. You've got to get some skills. You have to learn techniques. All of those things are very important. But the most important part is about becoming. It's about the way that the training and the teaching, if it's high quality training, high quality teaching, it's about how it changes you. And the initiations, you might go through ceremonies or rituals when you're doing initiations. Those are outward expressions of the actual initiation. Actual shamanic initiation is done by spirit. And if you haven't been initiated through crisis, for example, it can actually trigger a crisis. So it's something you have to be prepared for. Shamanic training is not for wimps. Sorry, for lack of a better term. It is not for the faint-hearted. You should really know what you're getting into. Sometimes I teach a 2-day class, Intro to Shamanism. It's a weekend class. It's for people who want to sample some shamanic skills. It is definitely not enough, and I very upfront about this when I teach this class. It is not enough to hang out a shingle and say, I'm ready to start, working with people in healing or teach shamanism or what have you. But it allows people to experience some of the shamanic skills and then decide if they want to take their education further, that sort of thing. So there is sort of a self-selection thing going on, and then in every program that I've been in, that long-term programs, 1 year, 2 year programs, 2 years of teacher training, all this stuff. There will usually be people who drop out And that's a pretty big decision to drop out of a program like that. Like, you normally have an agreement with the teacher and the other students that you're going to maintain the circle and that you're going to stay in there. But some people wind up having stuff happen. And I can tell you that for me, I almost quit on my first day. I almost didn't come back. It was so emotionally overwhelming for me. Just the first, really, almost, now that I think back on it, it's almost funny how tame that experience was. But I didn't have the makeup for it at that time. And really what had to happen for me was that spirit had to change me. I had to do tons and tons of work. So yes, you've got to learn a ton of stuff. You have got to change internally significantly and do a lot of self-work. This involves shadow work, and that can be very difficult. Pulling that stuff's in your unconscious for a reason. We don't like looking at that stuff. But if you don't like looking at that stuff, it's going to pop up and it's going to create problems for you. So along the way, we build really strong relationships with helping spirits, to the point where we know them just by their feel. We know them just by their energy signature, for lack of a better term. Like, I know this is my helping spirit and not some other spirit pretending to be, or another spirit that appears like that helping spirit, that sort of thing. So we form these like really close bonds, and that takes time. It takes a lot of time. So in this modern age, most people, the vast majority of people, do not have the dedication to go through all that is required to be really good at this. And this is not putting anybody down. This is just the way life is. I taught martial arts for a very, very long time, over 20 years. I taught martial arts. And, there's a saying that in martial arts, out of every 100 people that start, maybe one person lasts to get their first degree black belt. And out of those people, maybe 1% stays to get their second degree black belt. And it kind of goes down from there, because it takes full devotion. And it's hard in the modern world. Most of us have jobs, we have families, we have bills to pay, we have all of these things. And things that detour your life can be very, very challenging. So, I don't have a specific, I can talk about the specific signs that other cultures use to determine if somebody is, on the path to becoming a shaman. In the modern ages, it's very difficult. But I will say that the Shamanic Crisis and trauma is a big one. Birth defects are usually another one. And I went through crisis. I was born with birth defects, and many indigenous cultures, birth defects are an indication that you are special, which is interesting, because the way we treat birth defects here, I can tell you firsthand, is not like you're special. You're special in a different way. You're special in a way that you're less than, which is not, to me is horrible, and personally having some not so great experiences with that in my life. So birth defects, crisis, some cultures you have to be hit by lightning. My teacher's teacher has been hit by lightning a number of times. I don't recommend, I do not teach people or recommend that they go out and get hit by lightning. Pretty dangerous way. And you can't force a crisis. You can't, I don't know that anybody would, but you can't force yourself into a near-death experience, or cut off one of your limbs and go through this, because the crisis is about having a situation. Trauma really is about not having control over the situation. The way that trauma affects us in our soul is about going through a situation that we don't have control over. So if you choose to injure yourself, or you choose to purposely try to get struck by lightning, it's not going to have the same effect on you that that it would if these things were accidental or caused by somebody else or not things under your control. So don't do that. Don't hurt yourself, please. Don't go get hit by lightning. But the other aspect, the crisis aspect and the trauma aspect, is really interesting. You might have heard of the term wounded healer. And this is a common archetype. Well, all archetypes are common. I guess they're common to the entire human species. But the wounded healer means that somebody who has gone through, had a wound, whether that is physical, body, mind, or spirit, right? Body, mind, or spirit wounding. Going through that and healing that, you can become a better healer for other people. In my experience, because I came to shamanism from a place of healing trauma, a lot of people who I work with as a practitioner, who I do healing work with, come to me because of trauma. This is something that is called wound resonance. People can sense that you have a similar wound that you have healed, sort of an energetic signature. They can sense that, and so they're attracted to that. Not attracted physically, but attracted to work with people who have a wound resonance there. So something that is I have experienced quite a lot in the beginning of my practice. For the first couple of years, maybe 100%, literally 100% of my clients came to me maybe for other reasons, but they all had childhood trauma. So that was an interesting experience. As I've continued, I have people that come to me for all kinds of reasons now, but in the beginning it was nearly 100% trauma. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, and I hope this has been somewhat enlightening and informative, and have answered some questions. There's a heck of a lot of information on my website if you choose to go there about shamanism and shamanic training and all kinds of spiritual topics. And I host a podcast that has about one episode a week, and I think I'm on coming up on about 40 episodes. So exciting. It's been almost a year since I've started my podcast, and it's growing. So anyway, this is I'm just gonna wrap it up. I'm sorry I'm stumbling at the end of this. I didn't think about a good way to conclude this. And I like to do things live. I don't like to edit because I feel like it is more genuine. You get me at my best and worst, and I seem like more of a human being because I am. Yes, I work with people on a spiritual level, but I am not above or below anybody. We are equals. And with that, I will leave you.